All right, so let me see if I can get him up now. Spills, what is going on, sir?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry for the delay. How's it going?
It's going well. It's going well, man. So, as I mentioned, Spills, I have been teasing right at the top that we did have quite a bit of news that happened this past said week. Whether we're talking, as I said, streaming, sports, local news, as well as our con recap. So, as I said, we're going to dive right into our stream until talk. And talking about Alien Earth, which was renewed for its second season, as well as Monarch season two. So in talking about those said shows, I'll start first on Tuesday as a Deadline reported that Alien Earth had been, as I said, renewed for season two. According to the story, Noah Hawley, the showrunner behind the series, adapted from the wildly popular sci-fi horror and film franchise, has signed a new deal with FX and Disney Entertainment Television, valued to be in the nine figures. Now, for those that are not familiar with the show, and unless you've been living under a rock, stars an expansive ensemble that includes Alex Lothar, Timothy Oliphant, Essie Davis, Samuel Blinken, Babu Cisse, David Risdale, Adrian Edmondson, Ardarsh Gaurav, Jonathan Ajahi, Arana, James, Lily Newmark, and DM Camille, as well as Mo Bar-E. The first season's finale left a lot to be wrapped up. So, it's good to know that they're going to be getting a second season. Meanwhile, over a 2-day span between Wednesday and Thursday, Apple TV gave us a look at the second season of Monarch Legacy of Monsters. Of course, expanding the legendary MonsterVerse. The series stars Kurt Russell, Wyatt Russell, Anna Sawa, and Kiersey Clemens, Ren Watabe, Mari Yamamoto, Joe Tippett, and Anders Holm. Set to arrive on February 27th, the new season picks up where the first season left off, promising more buried secrets as a new mysterious village on Kong Island unearths a mythical titan in the nearby vicinity. So, Spillman, we did have, as I said, some news here with Alien Earth as well as with Monarch Legacy of Monsters. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm excited about Alien Earth. Obviously, on this podcast, we're big fans of aliens and their franchise. So, we're very excited about that. Good to see that the franchise has survived some campier times, but I think it's a good time. It's good that they're finally on Earth. Aliens come to Earth. I think that's part of a lot of the alien movies that we get. We don't get to see them here with the people, so it's good that they're finally here. I'm a little excited about this Monarch Monster Legacies thing. I haven't checked the show out, but that looks pretty interesting. Have you been able to check out that show? That seems very interesting.
Yeah, yeah,
I'd like to.
yeah. I very much have.
Wow.
When we're talking about Monarch, one thing that I've always had an issue with when it's come to the recent run of the what is it, the Kong and the Godzilla films that we've had. Don't get me wrong, they're fun films, but a lot of times they try to squeeze in some human drama in those said stories, and I feel like because of the nature of the films that we have there with all of these different monsters, kind of the stories of the humans kind of get lost in translation, and they kind of seem kind of like small potatoes compared to like the epicness of the monster battles going on. But with this show, I'll give them credit in that while you do have a lot of those creature elements in the background, they've been able to find a way to have the human drama matter. So, and because of this show, I've made the argument that perhaps we need to they need to utilize the show more so in terms of being able to draw out a lot of those human components that they seem to try to accomplish in the films. There
Hmm.
doesn't really seem to be a lot of like bandwidth or space to be able to have it in the films. And now that they have this show, it provides an opportunity to do so because I feel like they do a good job of making those plot points matter or that drama matter. So they now have a luxury with this show to be able to, instead of trying to place a lot of those elements in the films, to actually take it from the films and place it in this series that they now have. So for those that have not seen the show, I definitely recommend it because it is something that allows you to get some more insight into this, organization of Monarch, their history, their origins, but also they do a good job of the human drama as well with our human characters that exist in this universe. So if they ever decide for other characters that we've had thus far in those said films already, they could always pull them over and bring them over to this TV show, and I feel like they will work far better than trying to squeeze it into the monster mayhem that happens in the movies. Um, on the alien side, I feel like it's I don't want to say it was a given that they were going to get greenlit
No,
for
yeah, that was
the
probably
season
almost
two.
guaranteed. Yeah.
Well, no, I was going to say I'm not exactly sure that I would say that it was a given, but considering the track record that Noah Hawley has, and considering how the show began, don't get me wrong, when we're talking about the end of the show, I feel like it lost some steam and it lost some folks based on what it introduced and what it was trying to do. But you can't deny the amount of interest that you have in this IP. We've seen it demonstrated, very recently with what we have with the what is it, Predator Badlands, which is doing very well in the box office. So there seems to be a revitalization when we're talking about the Aliens and the Predator respective franchises, and even with the last Alien entry that we had, there was great interest in that. With this show, though it lost steam towards the end because of a multitude of things, you could say, whether we're saying I don't and let before I get into that, did you watch the show? Did you watch
The Alien Earth
Alien
show, I
Earth?
think
Yeah.
I've watched an episode or so. I hadn't watched the whole thing through.
Okay, so I won't spoil it, but I will say this. One thing which I feel like a lot of people can agree with me on is that they introduce a lot of interesting ideas, and I give them kudos that give the show kudos that it introduces a lot of interesting ideas, but in doing so, I feel like it gets lost in trying to introduce all those ideas and trying to uh, uh, wrap up certain threads in the first season in a satisfying way. Um, a lot of times I know a lot of people will say, well, if you're talking about the medium of television, by default, they're not going to be they're going to be elements that are not going to get resolved, and I get that. But at the same time, when you're talking about that medium, while you may leave a couple of threads hanging in terms of ideas or plot points that you have, there are some things that you have to wrap up within that season, to make it feel like that journey was worth it. And I feel like for a lot of people, and I'll be curious to know how you feel once you finish Spills, but I'm I'm sure a lot of people felt like the journey hadn't been finished by the time we got to the end of the season in a satisfying way. So there is an opportunity now that we know that there is going to be a season two, to make good on a lot of those things that were introduced in the first season in a satisfying way, and to be able to learn from those said things that maybe didn't really work in that first season. So
Hmm.
we'll see. But let us know in the comments, what are your thoughts on what is it, Alien Earth getting a season two? And for those that have also seen Monarch Legacy of Monsters, What are your thoughts on what we did see for this upcoming season? Because they do tease a brand new monster. We do see the return of a lot of characters, a lot of familiar faces. Who knows, based on the nature of how, how well this show operates, maybe we'll see, other familiar faces that we've had in the, cinematic universe thus far. But that's going to do it for what we have with our stream and chill talk. We're going to switch gears now. Um, Switch gears over to some local news. So yeah, let us know what your thoughts on those two talking points. But as I said, we're going to switch gears to some local news as we had the formation, or say the former location of a local amusement park being up for grabs, as Fox 5 shared on Monday that the 500 acres that was used that used to be the home of Six Flags America awaits its next buyer. And also late on Wednesday, the government shutdown finally came to an end as President Trump signed a funding bill that ended the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. The House passed the bill by a 222 to 209 margin earlier that same evening. Spills, your thoughts on the land formerly known as Six Flags America being up for grabs, as well as the government shutdown coming to an end?
Well, I'll start with the Six Flags area site for sale. This is just another thing, ladies and gentlemen. It's terrible management by the Six Flags company. I still feel as though this is Daniel Snyder's doing. They didn't sell none of them other Six Flags, and I'm sure that there's primo real estate. One of them's in New Jersey. That's got to be expensive land. Um, they're just gonna turn it into townhouses. I think that's terrible. Like, obviously we have a housing shortage in America, but people need a place for recreation too. It can't just be either home or work. We have to have places to go. I think the bill to refund the government is great. I don't know what you do in your day job or any of you out there, but this kind of affected me. So I think that it's good that we got the government back open so we can do what we need to do. How do you feel about it?
So, I'll say a couple of things, and I guess I'll start first with what we have here with the news of the site that was formerly known as Six Flags. I mean, there was what, 500 acres that we have there that are utilized, or say that can be utilized for other purposes. There is so many different things that a lot of people have speculated that it could be used for. Perhaps they can bring another amusement park there. They can bring some other facility there. Maybe it could be a place where more homes can be built. Who knows? But hopefully, considering the poor use of what was utilized for Six Flags America, because from what I understand in the story that was shared by Fox 5, and again, shout out to them with that story, is that so much of the land, only a small portion of the actual land that Six Flags actually had was actually being used. So, there are a multitude of things that I feel like could be beneficial to the folks there that are in PG County, that you could utilize those things for. So I hope we're able to come up, or I should say they're able to come up with something that can be not only beneficial to those that are in that area in PG County, but can also serve that dual purpose of bringing business and revenue for them as well. So we'll see. I know you, like you said, you brought up the idea of, you were kind of had a cynical idea of housing potentially being brought there. But we know when we're talking about housing, is it going to be housing that a lot of
Million
people,
dollar homes, ladies and gentlemen,
exactly,
million
they're going to
dollar
be housing that
homes.
a lot of people can live at, or only a finite amount of people can live at. So
Million dollar homes, yeah,
uh,
for sure.
that is another conversation, folks. But getting into the government shutdown aspect of things, I don't know. I'll say this and make of it what you will. I just find it interesting that the government shutdown came to an end when certain emails came to light. I just find that just fascinating. That all of a sudden, oh, we have a solution now, and now things are being resolved now that certain emails came to light. So make of that what you will. But crazy that it took as long as it did. There's still some things that still won't be resolved immediately, even with the with all of this resolved. So I mean, it's I guess I'm glad that a lot of people are able to return back to work and to get paid, but at the same time, there is damage that's still been done there in that there was a block of time that people were not able to you know make a living and to have the resources needed to live, and there are still services that won't be available, you know, still won't be available at this point in time, even now with this bill being passed. So uh, I'm glad that it's done, but there's still things to that need to be addressed. So
Hmm.
I don't know how you guys feel out there. You guys can let us know in the comments. What do you guys think about the Six Flags site being up for sale? Do you guys have any ideas, especially my PG, county folks? Any ideas of some things that can be placed there, or even with the news of the funding bill reopening the government? You guys can let us know in the comments as well. What are your thoughts on it? Um, and that's going to do it for what we have with our local news talk. So let me move that there. Give us one moment as we move on to our next segment, that being in the world of sports, as we had a smorgasbord of things that happened in the NBA. As you will know, we have the NBA season ongoing right now, and we, I guess, at this point, Spills are a couple of weeks in, and even in that couple of weeks' time, so much has happened, especially in this past said week. So let me bring that up now. So, in talking about what happened in the NBA with our sports cooler talk, as I mentioned, there was quite a bit that went down on Tuesday. LBJ, otherwise known as LeBron James, began practicing with the South Bay Lakers as he preps to return to the team. Also on Tuesday, the Mavs parted ways with their GM Nico Harrison. Steph Curry scored his 73rd 40-point game by dropping 46 against the Spurs on Wednesday. And Thursday, Nikola Jokic, otherwise known as Joker, scored a double nickel, that being 55 points, leading the Denver Nuggets to their sixth straight win. So, Spills, your thoughts on some of these stories across the NBA, or perhaps there are some others that you want to mention as well.
I just want to say that the Lakers are doing wonderful, and Brandon skipped out last week, ladies and gentlemen. Sure, he was doing a conference. Yes, we're going to talk about that conference, and that does make sense for for the schedule that he planned this months ago, and he couldn't have possibly known that the Lakers were going to
Not
be
months
good.
ago.
He couldn't have possibly known that the Lakers were going to be good right now. With LeBron, if I would have told him go back in time, hey, LeBron's not going to be there. He was like, well, we don't need to see this show, but clearly he did because we are on fire, even without LeBron. It's crazy that we got Luca, and it looks like that was the best trade you should have possibly made. Somebody came in the night and told us, "Hey, we can get you Luca Doncic for nothing."
Spills.
For
Spills,
nothing. A
I'm
disgruntled tall man who got fat. He's fat now. He don't even work out no more.
you
Oh
know,
my God,
Spills,
it's
I'm
awesome.
so happy that you brought up how the Lakers are doing because I wanted to also say how about them Lakers when they played that Thunder and they came across
Oh
that
yeah.
Thunder. So
Yeah, well,
uh,
we won last night, ladies and gentlemen. We 10-4. We the fourth seed. What seed are y'all? Oh, you in the play-in game. You below that dotted line. I see right now. It's the dotted
all
line
good.
that says if you're in the playoffs. Sure, the playoffs are months from now, and it probably doesn't really matter where we're talking about right now. But we're still in the hunt. In the early season, talking about some of the other stories.
Yeah,
It's pretty surprising the teams that are on top of the league right now.
yeah.
Um, OKC, obviously, they reloaded
No
and they got
brainer.
all them
It's a no
picks. It's
brainer.
not
Yeah,
fair,
they're gonna be
but
there,
the Pistons and Cleveland
right?
being nice. Like Cleveland being nice is not that much of a surprise, but the Pistons
The Pistons.
seemingly out of nowhere, good for them.
But
11-2.
I was going to say we've been seeing a lot of that. This is one thing that I would say that has been great to see this season is that a lot of those teams that had struggled in the past and they were very much going through a rebuild year in of sorts over the past few years are now starting to pick up steam. Now, I mean, you just mentioned the Pistons, but we also have the Spurs. You know, Victor Wembanyama is playing out of his mind. I feel like he's started to figure things out, which is a scary thing because I feel like he's a
Very
cheat code.
scary.
Yeah, he's a
Oh,
cheat code. You know, he's
that
like that.
Draymond play.
Hey, look, he's like that creative player that you have when you're in 2K. You're like, let me make an
You can't
unfair
make that
player that
player.
can
You can't make
that's
that
like
play on 2K.
7'6". He's
Yeah.
7'5", mind you, but I'm just saying, like, okay, he's 7'5". He can shoot threes. He can handle the ball like a guard. Like, let me make this as unfair as possible.
And
So
he's mean. And he's mean.
yeah, yeah, which you couldn't say a couple of years ago. I feel like he was kind of he felt like he needed to be like real nice, and I feel like now he's got some nastiness to his game. So
He
and
was
I'm
definitely
sure.
screaming in Draymond's face. That play on Draymond was
Hey, I'll give credit.
because
I'll give
Draymond was
credit when
doing this,
credit's
bark,
due.
bark, 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 bark. He
I
was
will give
bark,
credit
bark,
when
bark,
credit is due.
and he
The
put
the
him in the ring.
old the old Wembenyama a couple of years ago, we would not have seen that out of Wembenyama like a couple of years ago. So yeah,
It's the
we
Zen
definitely
focus.
seen, yeah. There's definitely a lot, like I said, a lot more nastiness to this game, a lot more aggression, which, like I said, is a scary thing when we're talking about the skill set that he brings to the table. I was gonna say one thing, and I was trying to see if I could find it. They had, and I was like, wow, I cannot believe they got so savage with this, in talking about the nature of where the Lakers are and where things are with your guy LeBron James. Where they, I don't know if you did you see this where they had this post with LeBron James and Bronny James. They're like, this is the nature of where we are right now, and they show they show LeBron in what is it? Oh, I think I found it. Let me see if I can get this up here.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Am I going to be offended instantly? Set face to
I
offend.
was like, wow, I can't believe
Yeah.
they getting real savage with this. Okay, I was like, okay, Sports Center, I see y'all. Let's see if I can get this up here now. Is this it? Yes, here we go. It was like this is where we are currently with uh our Lakers starter and a South Bay Lakers G League. Let's see if you can see this now. See if we have this up here. Ah, here it is.
Hey, that's the way it is. That man is in his 40s, ladies and gentlemen. Sure, he's the greatest player of all time, but he's 40.
Hey,
He's
but I'm
about
just
to be
saying.
41.
I was saying this is where we are, this stage with the Lakers, where who would have thought we had Bronny James in a Lakers jersey and Pops in a South Bay Lakers playing with the South Bay Lakers. So
Y'all said
who
that
would have
Bronny
thought?
didn't deserve to be in the league, and now he's starting. Look at that. Wow.
Who would have thought? So I saw that and I was dying laughing. I was like, I can't believe they actually put that up there because I'm sorry, based on that I don't feel like they're doing that to say look how cool this is. I feel like they're saying that to to be a little shady, just to be a little tad bit shady. So, but what about you guys out there? Let us know in the comments. What are some stories that have made the rounds this past week in the NBA that have been fascinating? And then one other, I was going to say, I know one that we didn't even touch on that was worth mentioning too. So I guess we can call this a honorable mention, if you will. And talking about the Spurs, we also had those triple double that game where we had a triple double with Wembenyama and with Castle as well, which was impressive because from what I understand, that is uh, they made history with that game because they were the youngest duo to have triple doubles in a said game. Because prior to that, the youngest players to have triple doubles in the same game was Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen at 23 and 25, and they're both, when I understand, 20, if memory serves, 21. So they beat them out by a couple of years and making making history with that said feat. So again, in talking about the Spurs and how impressive they've been this season and how much of a bright future they have going forward, as long as they stay healthy, of course. But I mean, when we're talking about the Spurs, unlike some other teams, they're relatively young. They're not when we're talking about that roster, they is not a veteran heavy squad. And I mean, as much as I love my Warriors, don't get me wrong, we do have some players that are older. When we're talking about the Clippers are not my team, but the Clippers are. We have a lot of we have a lot of old heads on that team. When we're talking talking basketball, that's our nickname. We
Oh,
say a lot of old heads, a lot of old
yeah, I
heads on
didn't
that
think
team.
that they were gonna like that. Did you see what Bradley Bill is hurt and out for them? He
Yeah.
steals money. He's a professional thief. He did not
Wow.
win the
Wow.
NBA championship, but he won an NBA bank robbing championship. He be
Hey,
stealing.
I mean, they already have, another player on there who has a tendency to be injured a lot and still gets paid pretty handsomely. So I mean, that's not really a stretch or saying much. That's just kind of on brand with the Clippers of having players that do that. No offense. So, um, but yeah, as I said again, let us know in the comments your thoughts on some of the stories that have been happening recently in NBA, because I feel like things are really taking off in terms of a lot of the things that have been going on. And as I said, a lot of the things that we touched on were just the tip of the iceberg. There were a lot of things that went down, but I felt it was worth mentioning those particular ones, especially since two of them dealt with our respective teams that we talk about a lot on this show. But with that, we're going to get into our daily news roundup. I'm going to get this up now, as we did have or I should say, I guess you could say, an end of an era in two matters. One regarding a fast food chain, and the other regarding the production of a particular coin that many of us, I'm sure, are familiar with. So with that, let me bring this up. As on Monday, and this is with our daily news roundup, on Monday, the fast food chain known as Wendy's revealed in a conference call with investors on Friday that it planned to begin closing restaurants in the fourth quarter of this year in an effort to boost its profits and to make its remaining stores more appealing. Meanwhile, the U.S. ended production of the penny on Wednesday, abandoning coins that have been a part of American culture for more than 230 years, but in recent times, one could argue, have become, let's be honest, kind of worthless. So, Spills, your thoughts on fewer Wendy locations and the end of penny production?
I feel like this is just what this is saying is broke boys need to get up out this country. Broke boys, we're sorry. We gotta go. You can't be here no more. We don't want to see any loose change. We don't want a $5 biggie bag. We don't want that frosty hang tag. You think you're gonna get a free frosty if you get a cheap thing off the value meal? No frosty for you. This is just terrible. Obviously, I like Wendy's. Obviously not enough because we're not going to them because they're not that good. We're at the point where burgers at the restaurant cost as much as fast food burgers. That's a problem. Why do the burgers cost as much as
Yes,
fast food burgers? That don't make no
I
sense.
concur. I
I
concur.
don't understand. I understand that essentially it's the same product, but it just does not make sense that Wendy's and McDonald's and all these places are charging me $12 for a burger. I could go to a place that serves beer to get that. Um, Obviously we're all amazed at this situation with the penny. Who knew that the weight of something would change the value of it over time based on economic factors such as the viability of the copper market? Who knew? But I think that this is just a sign of a collapsing empire. I don't know what else to say, but we got stuff for sale. If you want to buy some stuff, we'll sell it to you. But we're not making new stuff, so I don't know what to say. How do you feel about this?
So I'll start first with the penny production side of things, and as you kind of have implied and alluded to, we're in a different day and age, right? Where things that cost one at we had an expectation of what things were valued at or how much they cost. We had an expectation of that at one time, and now things are far more expensive than they used to be. We've talked about on the show a whole bunch on here in various episodes of how you may have an expectation of what your budget will be going to the grocery store because you have an idea of, okay, I'm going to be spending a couple of $100s for this trip to the grocery store. And nowadays a lot of what that expected price range is, you have to tack on maybe $50 or $100 more because of the added cost that many of these goods now have, which at the end of the day, once you tally it all up, ends up being far more when it's said and done, and you're buying all of those things together. So one thing that is also interesting too is because of that fact that so many things are far more expensive, unfortunately, it has kind of made, I feel like, the pennies obsolete. Where, let's be honest, and you guys can tell me out there if I'm wrong about this. When we're talking about our pennies, do any of you honestly use them that much to be able to buy any
I throw
given?
them at my enemies, ladies and gentlemen. I roll up on them in the streets, and
I'm
they don't
saying
know where
that,
it's
and to
coming
buy
from, and
any
then yep.
given thing. A lot of times, for many of you, which I'm sure is the case for me, and I'm sure it's the case for many of you out there, you have pennies lying around the house because you have to. We're in a day and age where there isn't much value placed on a penny, but a lot of times when you are gathering a lot of those pennies, you're gathering enough in the hopes that you can actually have an amount that is useful for you to have to buy something. And then on top of that too, for those of you that have pennies lying around, is there really that much value in having them to buy certain goods? Because I'm sure many of you too use a lot of those coin machines at the grocery store. And as you will know, if you use those said machines, you don't get a lot of that money back. They charge you as you are trying to gather whatever the total said amount of those pennies are. They provide you with a fee, so you don't technically get all of your money back of all those pennies that you're placing in those coin machines. So yeah, like it's unfortunate, but it's just the day and age that we live in. Um, I would say the only upside to the fact that they're not producing as many pennies is maybe holding on to the ones that you have and seeing if they can be of value as, you know, be of value as a collector's item, because it is something that is um, that we have will soon have fewer of. That's the best thing that I can think of, is of them being somehow being saved as collector's items versus you spending it, now that they're, you know, no longer producing those said coins of currency. But
Here's
now
my
doing,
question. Here's my
yes.
question. Since they're out of circulation, does that mean if you go to a wishing well and use a penny, does that mean that wish is not coming true anymore?
I mean, from what I understand, I mean, the pennies, don't get me wrong, like people are still using pennies. It's just that they're not making more of them. That's the point.
Right, but the fact that they use a finite things now, does that mean they're
Yeah.
wish list or more wishable? I feel like the limitedness of them may make them
Might.
more.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's the only thing that I can see as an upside, is that they can become collector's items now. But I guess for those that feel tempted to actually use them to like I said, use them in coin machines to get more, you know, to get produce any of the coins or the uh, bills that they need in order when they're, you know, trying to condense all of these pennies that they may have collected. I would say hold on to them versus using them to spend. So that was the only thing that I was mentioning. I feel like that would be your best bet at this point, is now having them as collector's items. Which,
Yeah, I think so too.
yeah, but in talking about the Wendy's side of things, I mean, I don't feel like there's much more that I have to say on that end. I mean, you touched on a lot of it, in that there are so many fast food places now where you go to the fast food places because they provide a cheaper option, right? If we're being very blunt and honest. And there's some places that are high end, you know, high end fast food places. They're still fast food places, but they're high end fast food places. And then there are places that you go there because they have things at a reasonable price. And, you know, you might be in a pinch, you know, where you're just trying to grab something really quickly, and you know you have this fast food option available to you to be able to get something, you know, to eat quickly, without having to go through, you know, a lot. You don't have to sit down anywhere to be able to be provided with the said food, and you don't have to spend an absorbent amount of money in order to do so. And Wendy used to be that option. I'm sure for many of us, Wendy was that option late at night. You know, for those of us
Oh
that, you
yeah.
know, like to go out, like that used to be an option late at night. And then you know, we, as is mentioned here, a lot of those locations are no more. But I will also say this, that a lot of times when you have more of something, when we're talking about different places that, you know, people go to, whether it's for fast food, whether it's for any other services, I feel like a lot of times by having too much of it devalues it a lot of times, especially when we're talking about food. Because I could give a whole bunch of examples of places where there weren't a lot of locations of it. And when they decided to franchise out and expand very quickly, the value and the consistency of how good that said product was went down. And I feel like Wendy's is one of those places. For those that are here in DC, and pizza is one of those places. And pizza.
Oh yeah.
Um, uh,
Once they got past the one on U Street, when they had the 8th Street and the U Street, I felt like that was fine.
that
Once they
was it.
started putting them in
Yeah.
Columbia Heights and whatnots,
Right. Right. Like, stop. Stop.
I
Like,
missed the Jenny pizza. I missed the Jenny. That was such a good pizza with shrimp on it. Oh wow.
yeah. I was good when it was just on H Street. That was it. Like, it was fine when it was just
Hmm.
on H Street. It was hidden when it was just on that one location. I mean, I understand if maybe you, like you said, if you had maybe one or two extra locations, but when you start, you know, and I know it's business. I know the
They got one
value
in
of
Silver
being able to
Spring that's
be able to
crickets.
franchise
Ooh.
out, but yeah, like, because everyone is not going to have the same uh, uh, dedication when it comes to producing that same said product. Even though you may have a formula that that you have each of these franchise locations cater to and get trained on, there is still not going to be the same. So by having fewer Wendy's, hopefully it can get back to a point. Because I remember a time when Wendy's was decent. Like even with it being a cheaper option, like Wendy's was a decent option, to get your fast food. Whether we're talking about Wendy's fries, some of the sandwiches, of course the Frosty. I'd be remiss not to talk about the Frosty. People sleep on the baked potatoes. Like I used to get those all the time.
The
So
chili.
the chili, the chili. So, I mean, there's so many memories that I have with Wendy's. Like I said, whether it was during the day or whether it was super late at night, after going out, like, that was a go-to spot. And since then, I feel like it's kind of gone downhill where, as is the case a lot of times when you have too many locations, you have to kind of really make that decision of saying, okay, which location am I going to go to? Because this location is better than this location. This close location, sometimes based on, and this is weird too, with some of these fast food places, they decide that they're going to have like certain things that other locations don't have. So it can be kind of frustrating when you're not at when you have a taste for that certain menu option and they don't have it available at the location that you have. And you're like, oh, why can't you guys just have this, franchise wide? So, but what do you guys think out there? I know I'm just rambling on. What are your thoughts on the production or the end of production on the penny? Do you feel like it's a good idea, or do you feel like we need to continue that penny production? You can let us know down below, and then you can also let us know what your thoughts on Wendy's locations, many Wendy's locations closing. As I said, I have many memories when it comes to Wendy's, and perhaps you guys out there do too. Let us know down below in the comments. But now we're going to switch gears to our main topic that we will be talking about today. And that is centered around a small little convention that happened last week, and I say that facetiously. Of course, it's a bigger show with Rhode Island Comic Con. We didn't have a show last week because I was on hand there this past week. It's known as the biggest
He's ducking the
show.
Lakers, ladies and gentlemen. That was ducking the Lakers. He wasn't trying to be at this thing.
It
Yeah,
is
ducking
known
the
as the
Lakers.
biggest show in the smallest state. It boasted an embarrassment of guests this past year in its 2025 edition, with guests that included the wrestler Sting. You had Bill Morrison, John Cryer, Molly Ringwald, Rainn Wilson, Michael Rooker, Sean Gunn, Gina Davis, Susan Sarandon, Vincent D'Onofrio, Charlie Cox, Hank Azaria, Mark Dacascos, Valerie Curry, and Anthony Starr, just to name a few, utilizing the Amica Mutual Pavilion and the Rhode Island Convention Center, as well as the Omni Providence as its respective venues. There was much to see and do at the Providence show. In fact, as I mentioned, I was there last week. I was on hand moderating for some of those said guests. So shout out there to Alter Reality Entertainment for providing an opportunity to do so. Spills, if memory serves, you haven't had an opportunity. I know I've tried to get you out there, but you haven't had an opportunity to go to Rhode Island Comic Con as of yet. Yes.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Rhode Island and I have a storied and horrific past where Rhode
Oh,
Island has had
horrific.
said some
You
things
tell.
about your boy. That's right. I'm like the Chief Keef of Rhode Island. They banned me, and I said terrible things that was making into a great
What?
drill song that's famous. Of course, that's what
What?
happened in real life. No, I don't have anything against Rhode Island. I think it's a lovely state. My cousin, she goes to school out there. I think I would go there in the springtime. So, unfortunately, I wasn't able to make the trip to the con. I would have loved to meet Sting. Is he as cool as he seems in real life? Did he have on a leather coat with the makeup? I'm sure he didn't have the makeup on. You got to pay extra for that, I
So
imagine.
that is a good question. I would love to know there in the comments for those that did have an opportunity to see Sting. As I said, there were a lot of things going on that said week. They had uh, I was just giving the tip of the iceberg of a lot of the guests that they had. So I wasn't able to see everybody, but man, it was quite a show. You had folks from, and I talked about it there within the cast, the amount of guests. I mean, you had folks from Daredevil. You had folks from The Boys. Um, as I just mentioned, Gina Davis and Susan Sarandon, Thelma and Louise. So um, I don't know how they were able to pull it off, but man, like to have that said lineup with the Comic Con was quite incredible. For the panels that I had an opportunity to do, I did have an opportunity to do Mark Dacascos, and in talking about his impact on the industry and his story. His story is very fascinating of how he got into the entertainment industry and those humble beginnings. Whether we're talking about what is it, Sean Gunn, of when we were talking about Peacemaker and the nature of like the DC universe as we know it now and what's on the way. Um, it was great to be able to talk with him because he's kind of in a rarefied space, which is what I also mentioned in the panel, in that not only is he a part of two cinematic universes, even though the subject was on the DC universe, he's still a part of the Marvel universe in terms of characters that he plays, the multiple characters that he plays. So not only is he in two universes, he plays multiple characters in those said universes, and in another rarefied kind of company, all many of those characters are still alive and kicking as of the current state of those said universes. Rocket is still around. Kraglin is still around when we're talking about the MCU. When we're talking about the DC universe, Weasel is still around. He's also playing, I'm brain farting. Maxwell Lord. Maxwell Lord is one of the recent characters that he's now portraying. That is, as of right now, per Superman and Peacemaker, is still alive and kicking. So to be able to have that versatility across so many different characters, across more than one universe is pretty impressive. And then also to be able to talk to Valerie Curry and Anthony Starr. I believe we talked about the spills. I want to say you've watched The Boys, and that you do check into that
Yeah.
show. So when we're talking about Firecracker and Homelander, it doesn't get any more awesome than that when we're talking about the current state of that show and them entering into their last season. Of course, they were very tight-lipped about what to expect this coming season, but still, fun panel to be able to do. But did you have any, questions? As I said, I know you haven't had an opportunity to go, and need to fix that come next year to have you, go next year.
So this was in Providence. Was it in Providence or
Yes,
was
it
it
was
in
in
Orlando?
Providence,
Okay,
Rhode Island. Yeah,
Providence. That's pretty cool. Um, yeah, I mean, it's a lovely time. I'm sure it's cold up there this time of year. I think it gets a little bit with the sea
it
breezes and
was. It
everything.
does get a little. Yeah, I was going to say it does get a little chilly. I know this past year it was a combination of chilly and rainy. And I know in past years, it's been surprisingly, um, yeah, I want to say kind of fair in terms of the weather, where it's not necessarily cold, but it's not necessarily hot either. It's right in that nice little middle ground.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's not too far off from what it is, what it's like here currently. So a lot of times the expectation that you can have here in the DC metropolitan area is what you can expect in Providence. So. Um, but if there are any other comments that you guys had out there, I'm gonna try to see if I can pull these up. Give me 1 second. I'm talking about some of these sit panels. Let's see. See if I can get this up here. Here we go. Here we go. So yeah. So again, shout out to Mark Dacascos, and then
Oh,
also
that's pretty cool.
yeah, and then also with Sean Gunn, shout out to him as well as of course Tony Starr and Valerie Curry. Like I said, it's fun to be able to do all three of those, and to be able to
You look happy
um,
in this one with Valley Curry. You see that, ladies and gentlemen? Look how happy
well, I
Brandon
mean, like
is,
I
ladies
said,
and
you have
gentlemen.
Firecracker there, and you have a Homelander there. So, like I said,
Oh yeah.
currently, when we're talking about the current state of where things are with the boys, it doesn't get any bigger than those two characters when we're talking about the villains that we have. So, it was great to be able to you know talk the boys. In terms of the overall story that has happened thus far. As I mentioned, they were tight-lipped about what was going on in the upcoming season. But I will say this: one thing that was shared was the idea that, and this was from Mr. Starr, from Homelander himself, is that when asked, and this was during the Q&A portion, when asked about what would be his favorite scene thus far on the show, he did tease that his favorite scene is from this upcoming season that we have yet to see, which premieres in the spring of next year. So he did leave that kind of as a tease of what one folks can expect for this upcoming season. But yeah, as I said, a lot of fun. For those of you that were there, you can let us know down in the comments. How did you guys enjoy this upcoming, or say this past year of Rhode Island Comic Con? You can let us know down below. Were there some fun times in terms of interactions that you had at the said guest tables? I know I was observing a lot of fun that was being had at those tables, and then even with maybe some of the other aspects of the show, whether it was with the photo ops, maybe there were stories that were there that you guys wanted to share. You can let us know down below. And then I always give kudos to the cosplay as well. The cosplay is out of many of the shows that I go to are on point as well. And that's saying something, because when we're talking about shows like what San Diego Comic Con, obviously, or Dragon Con or Awesome Con, they really raise the bar when it comes to cosplay, and Rhode Island is right up there, with those, said places. So, but that is going to do it for this edition of This Week in Pop Culture. Thank you guys so much for, tuning in with us. And with that, I'm going to punt it over to Spills. Spills, can you tell folks where they can find you?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you can find me at Truly Spill on Instagram, and we can talk about things like that time that Rhode Island run afoul of your boy.
And with that, I'm your host, Brandon Choi, host and co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. You can find me at Brandon Choi ENT, and then Brandon Choi _ ENT on Instagram. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be safe out there, and see y'all soon. Peace.